Shows you what armor.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever or whenever you may be. This is the Overnight. I am DM Foss, and tonight we figured we'd do year-end retrospective, look at all the stories. Well, some of the stories of 2021. And talk a little bit about them. We won't get too in-depth on any of them. But joining me tonight is Night Strike. How you doing, Night Strike?
I love how you just cut Baron off.
Well, he knew we were going live.
Yep.
He's great.
I'm not fast enough.
Nope, you're not. You're slow as hell.
And also Baron. How you doing, Baron?
Healthy as a horse. People that watched the show last week might understand that joke.
I don't know. Healthy as a horse, so that means we're beating a dead horse.
Nope. I had a slight cold like something or other last week.
Oh.
Or last show, not last week.
That's too bad.
So now I'm healthy as a horse.
Yeah. The horse wishes.
And I sent out a few other links, so we'll see if anybody joins us at some point, hopefully. But so you were talking about something, Baron, in the pre-chat. Why don't you tell everybody out there what you were talking about in the pre-chat?
I was. I've mentioned multiple times on previous shows about the CMP, the Civilian Marksmanship Program. I think I mentioned last show that I had ordered 2 new M1 Garens from them, and they showed up, and I thought we'd chat about it for a little bit. Let's see if I can pull this up. There we go. That is not mine. I don't have a photo of mine. It's just a picture from the CMP forums, but it gives you an idea.
I like that one better
than mine that you haven't seen.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
But yeah, I ended up getting
missing a bayonet. Though.
A what?
It's missing a bayonet though.
It is, but I guess we shouldn't really get into bayonets. That's a whole nother rabbit hole to go down. But I ended up getting one in 308 and 30-06. And I got super lucky. I didn't ask them. You can request, like, can I get a Korean War? Or can I get a Harrington Richardson's or a Springfield? You can ask the armor to pick you out a certain one. It's not a guarantee. I just rolled the dice, didn't ask for anything, put in an order for 2. I ended up getting one that was made in October of 1940. It's in the 60,000 serial number range from Springfield Armory. I'm pretty happy about that. Of course, it's not period correct. It's got parts on it from like 1941 and 1942. But yeah, it's really cool to have a gun that could have been at Pearl Harbor or D-Day or anything in World War II. This gun could have been there, or it could have been sitting in a rack in a depot. Who knows? But yeah, it was $1,000, free shipping, no tax. I sent in my application on the 12th of November, put that in the mail. I had my gun December 16th. Shipped to my door. They overnighted it. It's a hell of a good deal. I'd look into checking it out if you guys are interested in M1 Garand out there. And it helps support a nonprofit teaching young kids about marksmanship. So it's a good cause.
Yeah. We'll add a link in the description at some point. So make it a little easier to check out if anybody wants to check it out.
cmp.org.
And yeah, you've got some from CMP Night Strike, haven't you? At least one?
Yeah, just one. Just one.
Uh,
You can only get one.
I'm a
I'd
little
love that.
obsessed.
I'd love to have more, but I could only get one. I got one in 30-06, and I can't find ammo.
Oh, it's
Ammo.
not cmp.org. It's the cmp.org.
Yeah. THECMP.org. Just FYI.
yeah, 30-06 has been
Non-existent.
pretty
Well-
rare for quite a while.
Well, affordable 30-06. Let me put it that way, because people say, "Oh no, you can find 30-06 out there." Yeah, but I'm not really wanting to pay $1.50 or $2 around.
Yeah, I think I ordered the last ones I ordered. I think were like $1.80 around. So I ordered like 1 or 2 boxes, and just so I could have some.
Right.
Yeah, I got I don't know if you call it lucky or smart, but when ammo started going scarce, I bought a shitload from the CMP before anyone was cleaning them out. So I got stocked up pretty well.
Yeah,
At a
that
good
was
price with match grade ammo.
when all the ammo disappeared from the rest of the internet. They still had some.
Yeah, they did. It was because you had to go through the process to apply. You couldn't just buy it. But
Yeah, I think
if you've already applied before, you don't have to reapply to buy the ammo. It's just automatic.
even they're pretty low on ammo now too, aren't they?
Yeah, they got 40, 10 millimeter, 22, 308, 5.56, I think. But yeah, they don't have any 9 or 30-06 or 45. They're all out of that. Yeah, but if you need 308, they do have a bunch.
No, I'm good on 308.
I don't have a 308.
And that's your problem.
I only have one, this one.
I've got 2.
But the appeal of this was uses the exact same clips as the 30-06, so I don't have to buy magazines. Everything that works with the 30-06 will work with this one.
Yeah, there's a couple more 308 rifles I'm looking at.
I thought about building a AR-10, but I don't know. Kind of lost interest in it.
Oh, I need to build an AR-10. And then I need to get a hold of a FAL.
I'm tempted to buy a few lowers just so if I ever want to, I can build one. Assuming they never outlaw parts kits in this wonderful state.
Yeah, there's been a couple times where I was at the gun shop, and if they would have had the lowers that I wanted, I really like the Aero Precision lowers. So if they had some, I would have picked up a few just to have.
Yep, gunmetal guy. I've got one of those.
Is that the Set Me clone?
It's the Set Me, yeah.
Those look pretty cool.
I've got one of those. I've got them 14 now. I just want to get a FAL and an AR-10, and then I can do a video on battle rifles.
I was planning on building one from a demilled kit, but I never got around to it.
Which one?
A Set Me.
I have a parts kit lying around. I just need a barrel and a receiver, and I'm good. I've got a welder, so I could technically weld it. They say, oh, for gunsmithing, you have to use a TIG. Well, what they don't know won't hurt them. I'll just use a MIG.
Well, if it's an AK, you can just use a stick welder.
Yeah, well, I'm not building an AK.
Some Gorilla Glue.
Yep.
A MIG will work. That's all I got. I'm not buying an $800 TIG just because, some guy on the internet said so.
Well, gunmetal guy, if you're looking to get a CMP Garand, now's the time. They're shipping out in about a month, and they got these really good deals on expert grades. $1,000. If I was going to recommend one, that's what I'd recommend. It's a service grade rifle with a brand new stock, brand new barrel.
So if you're out there watching, say hi. Throw a comment out there. Let us know who you are, and we'll say hi back. Earlier, Nicholas was out there. And when we get into the comments that were left on the community tab, there seems to be a prevailing feeling towards the government and the media. But says, I'm not sure what is to be retrospective about. Pretty much all the BS he sees, the outcomes can be predicted. Wishes our illustrious government would leave things alone instead of messing them up. I'll say I agree. G Webs was out there. Gunmetal guy. Ooh. Moo. 2Live Moo. I don't know, Moo, if you're going to be up, I'll send you a link if you want to jump in with us. And the Man of Tupperware, who is running for Ohio State Senate.
I thought he was running for governor.
Well, he changed his target. He's looking at the state Senate now. So if you're in Ohio, check him out. See what he's got going on. See if you like him. See if you want to support him. And I ordered. He's got some merch. I ordered a mug. It was the Primary Everyone mug, and I'll probably give that away at some point as a giveaway. Primary Everyone.
So what do you think if we killed the Garand topic? Close it out?
I haven't heard the ping yet. Okay, I think it's done.
How you doing, G-Webs?
Good. Good morning. Thanks for the link.
I have to say, you sound a lot better with your new mic than
right on
with your other setup. When you're just kind of shouting into the ether.
Well, I was using my, just the little mic that's stuck on the top of the laptop. So I guess the noise canceling would always fade in and out weird.
Yeah, you'd get kind of a hiss and a fade, and but definitely this you set up what you're even, you said it was a cheap headset. Still sounds pretty good, I think.
Yeah, $20 at Big Lots.
But so let me do let you guys talk for just a second. I got to do one thing here. I said I was going to do. So talk amongst yourselves for a minute.
Sorry, I was putting the gun away.
Talk.
Are those still the guns that came back from Korea then?
This one, I got no idea. Might have been the Philippines.
There's not like some kind of a book or some kind of a website that tracks all the different serial number groups or tries to.
Not that I know of. I could check on the CMP forum, though. But yeah, the info they do give you, they give you the date that they did all the armory stuff on it, and they give you the armor number. So,
But that was done recently, right? That wasn't like from 1950 or something.
no. Oh, do you mean what year?
No, the work. I mean, like the work they did on that was recent, or was that from like 1950?
Yeah, the work they did was December 8th of this year. So,
Okay, yeah. So that's interesting.
yeah, they're doing a pretty good turnaround.
So you think the parts that they put them together from are other guns or some virgin set of parts somewhere?
It's hard to tell because these were guns that have been reserviced so many times. You don't know
Or I
if the
imagine
CMP did it or if some armor in the army in the 50s did it.
So when they send, like, let's say they're going to send 1,000 guns to Korea, South Korea, then they're going to probably send them with a whole bunch of spare parts.
Yep.
And when they send them back, they probably send all them spare parts back. And if they're like, well, this one's broke, let me grab some of them spare parts and put it back together. And I'm wondering if it's like that or if it's something else where, I'm pretty sure the armories, I don't know who makes the decisions, probably some general or some quartermaster, but I remember hearing something about how, I think it was when I was watching Stoner talk about the invention of the M16 and how during Vietnam, when they first were spooling up for Vietnam, they hadn't quite gone to the M14, so they needed to make some more Garins. So then all of a sudden they just said to whoever, hey, make some more. And you got to start the metal from scratch. Here's the equipment, but here's like 1,000,000 stocks. Well, it's like, where'd you get 1,000,000 stocks at? Like, where the government just had 1,000,000 stocks laying around, or hundreds of thousands of stocks laying around. So I'm wondering if the government just did that, like from back in the olden days, whenever they first cut down all the trees and whittled them into Garin stocks. I wonder if they're using those, because I've seen those at Tulsa before, like just in the that cardboard, that paper, oiled paper wrap, that kind of cosmoline paper that they used back in the day, like stocks that are or were originally made for World War One, maybe two, I guess, that they just never even seen the light of day. They were cut, whittled into a stock, put into that wrap, put in some warehouse somewhere, and then, oh, we're not at war anymore. Oh well, close the door on them, leave them in there.
Yeah, the stocks on this one, it's a new commercial one. Same with the barrel; they're new commercial production.
Oh, okay, so they're literally being made today then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I can find the company. Starts with a D, I think.
Duncan Hines? That seems odd. They usually make
that's it. Duncan Hines.
Well, if it was wartime, everybody made war products.
DuPage Trading. But yeah, they also make laminate stocks for them. The one they give away with it is walnut. And Criterion barrels are the ones that make the new barrel. But yeah, I think the only metal parts that are new production are the like butt plate and the sling swivel and stuff like that. But most of it's from World War II.
So, sorry about that, guys. But figured we go through, and I picked out a story for each that happened in one per month, and we'll kind of go into the stories, but not, I don't want to get too in depth into them. But just
where'd you pick them from? Did you go back to your content, or did you go to some source? How'd you pick the?
Oh, they were from. Was it the
Wall Street Journal?
Wall Street Journal.
Oh, okay.
And
I
then
found an article that did a retrospective of the entire year up till now.
and one or two of them were just ones that I found. But and thing to remember with all of this is that the news, as fed to us, is a product that's sold for profit. So, it something something happened, but they whoever's telling you it can say their version of why they think it happened, or stuff like that. So keeping that in mind, we'll look at some of these stories. And I put out on a community tab, I asked what everybody thought either the biggest or most important stories from 2021 were, and I didn't get as many responses as I had hoped, but let me call that up. So Walter Davis said basically that America has survived and not disintegrated yet. But he's not sure about next year.
Might need to amputate something.
Justin Clevenger, that half the U.S. is listening to Fauci. Nick Villa, the failure of the Biden administration on all fronts and issues. The gun-toting pacifist said that vaccines do not prevent or slow the spread. More deaths in 10 months of 2021 than all of 2020 with no vaccine. Dion Brown said none of it. The media are all shit. Mandatory carry said the economy. Mike Locke said all the stories that are being ignored. Joe Smith said the Rittenhouse trial, recent tornadoes, the Biden inflation. Pat Hirsch agreed with him. And Brent Persinger said the real news is never told. Said they're liars and are corrupt.
Yeah, and then they put a link to a fake spam thing. I didn't realize that was a question. I thought it was just I saw it and I figured it was just. I thought it was a promo for this show. I didn't realize it was a question.
Oh, a little bit of both. But I was curious on what everybody was thought.
I just got thrown it now, so I didn't have much chance to think. But obviously, the people that answered this are all pessimistic. But I was, of course, thinking gun stuff. Or all I ever think about is gun stuff, Second Amendment stuff. So I'm not really thinking just in the regular thing. But just from reading their answers, my reaction is that if we had a situation where or we are in a situation where there's a whole bunch of people that have a bunch of interest in telling us what to do and making us do stuff, and then you can look at the people that comply, but you can also see that this is a world where a whole bunch of people in a place where it would have been a lot easier to just comply and to do what they're told didn't, and are doing things that the system has in place to prevent just tyranny. So people that get pushed and start sitting down and claiming tyranny, I can't go along with that. We live in a place where tyranny pushed us and we stood. So yeah, they pushed us. I don't look at the bruise. I look at the fact that they stopped and had to keep pushing, that they didn't just push us once and claim victory. So the most important thing in 2021 is probably going to be something that was overlooked. But the fact that the nominee in this year with this situation, and if people are serious, I don't want to get too political, but if people really are so willing to come to suggest that it's over, that they've won, that they've twisted the arm or they've manipulated, then why didn't they put their ATF guy in? Why isn't the ATF guy solid, and why aren't guns gone? It's fake. It's not that way. It's they tried to. All they did is push us. All they did is barely bruise us. And it's whole like people stand behind the strong men, hard times, soft men, soft times, blah, blah, blah. Get hard. Be the hard guy. So this is a year of resistance to a push. And it wasn't a, hey, we're going to resist with knives and forks and punching. It's a resistance through determination and resolve, through a lot of attempt to erode. So I'd say that I don't know what the answer is, but I disagree with my reaction is I disagree with a lot of that pessimistic angle.
Yeah, that Chipman story was pretty important. They left it out of the Wall Street Journal article. Surprise,
And-
surprise.
During 2 consecutive comment periods that had tons of potential, right? We didn't win a victory. If we would have won a victory, there'd be no NFA right now. But we certainly held our ground and did as good as can be, considering we're just a bunch of regular people without any NRA driving us, without any, I don't mean NRA like to demonize the NRA. I just mean that we don't have a giant entity that calls the shots and all we have to do is play our part. We don't have that, right? We're all a bunch of individuals with a common drive, a common resolve, and that's fundamental. That fundamental is enough for us all to have said no. And on all different fronts, I'm thinking 2A, but obviously on all different fronts, this time of the, I don't want to say this year because it's been a couple a little bit now, but you know what I mean? Anyway, sorry.
No, that's all right. I wasn't, I wasn't sure if you'd be into doing news stories, but I figured,
I'll try.
I'd still, like to hear your opinion on stuff. And, so I went month by month, picked out one that these are ones that I tried to go for ones that affect the whole country rather than stuff that really should be local stories that for some reason get blown up. But for January was what they're calling the Capitol riot, which to me was not very riotous. Really, from what I saw, there's been better riots. If it was a riot, they didn't riot very well, in my opinion.
Well, most of them were like 65 and older, right? And going in there with walkers and
Well, they definitely were on, phones and taking pictures of the whole thing. So it's the weirdest thing ever for sure. But I think that definitely wins January.
Well,
did you guys watch it live when it was happening?
I don't remember.
I
mean,
did
it
watch.
wasn't a big deal.
I saw some of it because New York Outcast was there, out in the crowd.
That's right.
So he was live streaming. So I saw some of that.
Where he was, though, was like, it's hard to say. I mean, if you haven't been there, but I just had been there the year before or whatever for the rally. So when he was live, I was like, oh, I know where he is, because I had to drive through that area to get to the parking for the place that I was at, we went to. And then, I mean, you'd have to walk like 5 or 6 minutes to get to where the action happened from where Rob was at. Like he was in DC, but he was like 2 blocks away or whatever. I don't know how you call a block in DC. It's weird there, but he was quite a ways walking away from where the stuff was happening.
Yeah. And, I don't have a problem with everybody being there and saying their part. It's when they went inside that it kind of goes sideways. Going into the offices and, taking stuff, messing with stuff. That
one
really
of them smeared poop on the wall in Pelosi's office.
Did that really happen? Or are you just saying that?
I think that really happened.
Even if that happened, that's still the biggest fake reaction to a bunch of people walking in that I've ever heard of.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't didn't watch all the coverage and stuff. And I know that the officer that died, that at first they were saying was beat with fire extinguisher, didn't happen. He had a heart
fake.
attack.
He had a heart attack.
Yeah. But there may have been some other tussles with the cops.
Well, I've seen, I don't know if they even are allowed to talk about it, but there's those things where the people were going into the trees and coming out with a different uniform on. Like they had their one clothes on, their street clothes. They duck into a thing, come out with putting their backpack on their back with all the Trump clothing. And then they, after like a group of them had done that, they basically proceed to go right away to start breaking things and being the violent one. So I don't know. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that stuff, but
yeah, there were. I know there, it was proved that there were some, I don't know, Antifa types that were involved that actually went into the Capitol. But
as soon as somebody changes clothes, they could be anybody. They could be,
yeah.
Well,
they looked at who that
Liberian or something.
who
who knows?
I know there were two in specifically that they looked at them specifically at who they were.
Oh, you mean they actually?
Yeah.
Was investigated?
Yeah.
Well, then there you go. So then it's not just anybody. It is literally somebody who's got the opposite thing trying to. I don't know if that's called Trojan horse, and I don't think that's Trojan horse, but whatever.
Agent provocateur.
Yeah, there you go.
But
I don't know if it'd be
so I'm not saying that it's
because they didn't like Biden.
Yeah, they don't like anybody. They're eternally unhappy.
Well, that's interesting because, in other words, like the same kind of people that would show up at any protest and turn it into a riot just showed up at another protest, turned it into a riot kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like using the opportunity to just cause chaos.
Yeah.
Like, didn't they try to burn down a Democratic headquarters in Oregon, like on Inauguration Day or Inauguration Night? Pretty sure that happened. Antifa.
Yeah, I don't.
Well,
like,
that's the thing.
why
It's
is
hard to
Antifa
say.
mad
If a
at
thing
Biden?
happened, how do you know that they're really affiliated when there's not like an actual state to be affiliated with? When it's just a loose thing, like, oh, they could be anything, or I'm claiming to be this, but I don't know.
Well, they identify a lot of them.
Oh, see, I don't pay attention at all. If you're saying like they've investigated and then they have the results of investigation, yeah, then I totally.
Yeah, they've charged people.
Okay, yeah. Well, then, yeah, that makes. I'm trying to be, what's like playing the devil's advocate or something. But yeah, if these people have already been investigated, then why are we even?
Well, I mean,
giving
in
them more
Oregon,
credence?
In Oregon State.
I'm just hoping that as much effort that in tax dollars that they're putting towards 6 people that went in and caused trouble or whatever they did, that they do the same to the same level of scrutiny to the politicians that are claiming this was detrimental to democracy.
Well,
if you think if you're that fragile that this is detrimental to democracy, should you be in charge of anything?
That's what I really feel the reaction to the. I don't even want to call it a riot, but the protests, and they expanded it to more than just the people who went in. They were they're grabbing people afterwards that were just outside, because it's a threat to the government as an entity. Standing up is a threat to the government. That's why the government doesn't like citizens having guns, because it's a threat to their power. They can't just run roughshod as they like. That's why they don't want you to have guns. That's my opinion. And it's not every single person in the government, but the government as a whole. Any large organization, their main goal is to grow that organization. And whether it's government, whether it's a business, and that's, people having independence is a threat to that power. It's a little, not trying to step on Honda's toes here with conspiracies and stuff, but that's, that is my opinion. For February, I had the car shortage, the chip shortage, which just seems crazy to me.
We never did get chips again. We never had chips since.
There's a Toyota dealership about a mile away from me. Basically, they don't have any Toyotas. It's all used cars that are other brands because that's all they can get. And I bought a car at the beginning of the year, and the negotiation was like having a fist fight, just because it's a seller's market and there's not a lot of inventory. So if you want something, you got to pay for it.
Is it still like that?
It is. The buddy that I work with, they were trying to find a new car. I forget what they were looking for. Couldn't find it. Basically any of the things that they wanted to look at, nobody had anything, and we're told that they didn't know when they would get them in. And he told me, I think the dealership just got it in. They've been looking for months. So he's supposed to go look at it, but
Are all the car salesmen getting laid off? Salespeople getting laid
I
off?
don't know. But and that kind of the chip shortage goes into the computer industry too, where graphic cards and all that stuff shortage. But
Processors, RAM,
yeah.
everything.
For March, I had the COVID stimulus, the $1.9 trillion stimulus, where you get into the $1 trillion. It's just a number. It's hard to conceive of that number. What is it? 1,000 million?
They depend on us not being able to conceptualize these numbers anymore. Right?
$1 million is a lot, and I think people kind of have a concept of what $1 million is. Even if you step up to $1 billion, then you start, what is $1 billion?
If you drop the last three zeros off, like you say, the thousands and stuff, then it turns into real numbers like $10,000 or $20,000. And I've seen some really good summaries like, here's what they're doing. You take the last three zeros off, and now it looks like a household budget type of thing.
Yeah. And so, when the government's throwing around billions and trillions and, nobody cares. It's just a number. And
well, then it's the game, right? Oh, well, we're going to blah, 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 and then this and that. And they use all these words and terms, and they're talking about budgets from the future or the past. So nobody even pays attention that we're dropping stuff in debt or, where we're even talking about taking money from. And then they just all agreed to do this thing lightly. And all I did was agree to spend more and not do anything about it for another 18 months. Like they're
and I meant to look up, you can look up how that debt breaks up per person. But then I wanted to look at, because only, half of the people pay taxes. So, that what, 20 trillion, 21 trillion, 22 trillion, whatever it is now, how that breaks down into half of the people, what that debt per that half. But I forgot to do that. And it's not really important, really. But
For shame.
Technically, that only applies to income tax. Basically, everyone pays tax.
yeah.
Like if you buy a firearm.
If you buy something, you're paying tax, right?
Yeah. If you buy a firearm, you're paying federal tax. It's baked into the price.
It's the folks that are sitting on a pile of scratch that are making a bunch of interest that aren't getting taxed on the interest. That's what people get freaked out about. They're like, oh, well, you've got money and you didn't go out and get an income tax on that, so you're not paying any tax. It's like, well, how many times you want to tax this money? Like it already been taxed. But anyway, there's lots of, I think that's the thing, right? That when you're saying only partial people get taxed, it's the income tax.
Woods is saying 2/5 of all the money we have ever made was made in the last 18 months.
You mean printed?
Yeah. And we'll get into that here in a
I
little
wonder
bit.
how that works because
Yeah, but often we take like big piles of that cash and give it to like Iran or whatever. So basically taking it off the table.
Yeah.
don't they destroy the old notes when they get too damaged?
Only when
They
they're
do.
damaged,
Ones.
and they can't be anywhere near as much as they make, though. You know, they're
They're
printing them in
supposed
cheap.
to. Whether they actually do it or not, we don't know.
Oh no, they do it. I've seen the thing. Whenever it comes through the banks and they go through the, like you say, whenever the bank gets one that's tattered, they throw it in a pile, and once they determine it's tattered enough, they destroy it.
I
Yeah,
wonder how
but
they keep tabs on that.
I've seen a whole movie about this. And then you can take
How
the armored
much-
car, grab the armored car full of bad money, and no one knows it's missing. The whole thing.
I like
how
you
much
think.
of this is just a digital number and not it was never actually, printed as a bill.
Wasn't it? You only have to keep like 10% of what's on your books in your vault, something like that.
Yeah, if you go to the bank and you ask for a large amount, they'll tell you we'll have it, I don't know if it's tomorrow or 2 or 3 days because they don't have it on hand.
That
Isn't it
happens to
usually
me all
because
the
they
time.
loaned it?
Every time I try to get like 100 or 200,000 out in cash, they make it a big deal.
Where are we at?
I just started
April.
keeping 300 grand in the home safe just so I don't have to deal with their hassle.
April, I had the Floyd trial, which to me, I think it should have been a local story, not a national story. I think Floyd was
It was
deified,
a worldwide story,
and
technically.
he was not a good person. He shouldn't. If it's true that he died from a heart attack or from taking all the
cardiac
fentanyl,
arrest.
I think Chauvin contributed to it, but I don't think he caused it.
I was saying that if they had pepper sprayed him, it probably would have killed him.
Yeah.
If his medical is actually true. But yeah, they were having protests in London and stuff. That it went worldwide. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, gunmetal guy is saying Subaru dealership had 25 cars with their catalytic converter stolen. Yeah, that sucks. I had mine stolen. I'm still waiting to get my car back.
That's frustrating for anybody that's got like a vehicle that's high enough off the ground that you don't need nothing to go underneath it. Like in the cop car, I wouldn't care. It's like, try getting underneath the cop car. It weighs a ton and it's like an inch off the ground with no skirts or nothing. But the other vehicles, like a pickup or something, like you just scoot underneath the pickup.
That was mine. It was from talking to the officer who came out and took the report. They tend to go after mine's my brand new. They go after a little older cars, and then the hybrids. But mine was probably a convenience because it was out there where it was on its own, and it's high enough where you can get under there easily without needing to jack up the car. But I try not to dwell on it just because I don't want to be angry all the time because of it.
What do you think? You find somebody under your car, good nut kick,
Nah, run them over.
run them off. You might get in trouble for that.
Well, they shouldn't have been underneath the car in the first place. So, it's their fault.
Oh, for May, I had the heartbeat law in Texas. Mainly because
That's
of
the abortion one?
ramifications. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
His
These are
There
from
were-
this list on the magazine, right?
yeah. There were channels like Yankee and someone, I can't remember who else. Oh, I think Matt. No, Never Enough Ammo. They both, warned that this sets a bad precedence, and because the way the law was written, that anybody can sue over the abortion, and they were concerned that it could be applied to guns, and California now is trying to apply it to guns.
Yeah, Newsom put out that press statement.
And
I feel like that could end violence in California. So basically, you can sue somebody if they have a violent gun. That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, if you manufacture a assault weapon or a ghost gun, wasn't it? Or sell.
That shouldn't even be legal. So you should be able to sue somebody for even talking about stuff like that.
I did see Styx Hexenhammer. He was talking about that. Did a video talking about that, where he doesn't think that that law will go anywhere, and that Newsom basically just did it as a stunt.
Yeah, threat.
Yeah,
If you guys don't fix this, we'll do this. Empty threat. Hopefully.
He was saying that that because the guns are covered in the Constitution in the Second Amendment, and abortions are not explicitly covered. They were basically they're covered because of the Supreme Court case. So that was his reasoning, where why this probably won't go anywhere if it's challenged, which it should be challenged. But I don't know.
Yeah, my take on it. I assume that this is a real loophole that is valid and can be used to bypass a constitutional law like the Second Amendment. So I'm pretty concerned that we need to close the loophole, hopefully through legislation.
Night Strike's going to take off. So why don't you go ahead and plug yourself here, Night Strike, before you take off?
I'm just going to say this. Check out guntube.org.
Guntube.org.
That's all the plugs I need right there.
Isn't guntube.org a US-based video hosting platform that's friendly and focused on firearms-related content?
It is. It is. It's the wave of the future. So, and with that, I will bid you all good evening or good morning, depending on what part of the country you're at, and get out of here. I'm falling asleep because we're talking about this stuff, and I'm trying to stay awake, and it's just like I'm falling asleep, and I'm getting every other 5 words.
Well, I appreciate you coming in for the time you were here.
Thanks for showing up.
Well, we'll see you guys later. Take it easy.
Nighty night.
Night.
All right. So for June, I had the Keystone XL pipeline closing, the executive order that closed the pipeline.
Finally, I can breathe easier knowing that the Earth has that noose taken off of its neck.
Well, I will never support anything that removes our energy independence, which this, it doesn't completely kill all of our energy independence, but it's something that, will hurt, and it has hurt.
It's a pipeline from Canada, right?
Yeah, from Alberta down.
Was it even? I thought it was just from like Ohio to the coast. Was it from Canada?
Yeah, it crosses the border.
Okay.
The only problem from the little bit I read into it was it crosses through the Sioux Nation without their approval. And if they say don't come on our property, then it shouldn't go on their property. But
Yeah,
we
I
can
didn't see the
route
issue.
around it
They
a
should
little
have
bit.
gone around.
There's an existing pipeline
Was
that
it
goes
the
way
reservation,
around.
or was it like historic land that wasn't on the reservation, but everybody acknowledges was historically something? And then they're like, well, but you don't own it. And then they're like, well, yeah, but it's
I
historically.
think it was their reservation.
I think I'm not absolutely certain, because in the article I read, it talked about a Canadian tribe and then the Sioux tribe. The Canadian tribe, it didn't sound like it was the reservation; it was their historic land. And then I thought the Sioux one was the reservation.
Yeah, they do that all the time here in the U.S. when they need to do infrastructure. They use eminent domain.
For July, the federal vax mandate, which, I don't know what to say about it. It was, out of the stories that I saw, it was the national story. So I don't want to.
Well, we needed jobs, and all the sterile or the dirty mask incinerator factories. Those are creating all kinds of jobs for people.
Well, and then the dirty mask picker-uppers that are going around.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Picking
The
them up
people
off
that
the
grab
street.
them from you after you cough in them.
Yeah. Because if you look around, there's a lot of masks laying around on the streets.
Yeah, I was going to make a series on that, but I figured people would not appreciate things getting rubbed in their face. Or wait, hold on.
Hey, who do you think's doing that? You think it's people that get given those free ones when they go in a store, and then as soon as they leave, they throw it on the ground?
Can you imagine? What if no, it's probably like, I'm hoping it's people that are like, something happens and they're like, oh, I'm not going to put this back on. And you know what I'm saying? Like, or something like that, maybe. I guess.
It's probably the same people where it's amazing how many articles of clothing you find outside a grocery store.
Yeah, it's kind of true.
Shoes, socks, underwear, shirts. I don't understand it.
I'm not sure I want to know why someone's getting rid of their underwear outside of a grocery store.
Well, man, have you ever seen people that's their car looks like maybe somebody's closet or some people's room or something? Like they're just like, oh, I'm going to bring extra socks for this hike, and then I didn't use them, so they just stay in the car and there's just a loose pair of socks in their car. And it's potentially, I like to think it's something like that, or somebody's doing laundry and it hamper spilled over or something.
Oh, August. At first, I had the Cuomo stepping down, but then
did he step down or did he get pushed?
Well, basically, he was forced out.
Forced out. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, they did the Nixon thing. Like, you could stay, but it's not going to be for very long.
But I don't know. I also had the Afghan withdrawal.
What did the magazine have?
I think they had the Cuomo one. I don't think they had the Afghan withdrawal.
They did. They had
Did they?
Taliban take over. Afghanistan's government falls as Taliban fighters take over the capital. A U.S.-led military airlift begins to evacuate Western diplomats and, quote-unquote, others. Lots of those others.
Yeah, it was a shit show, and it was going to be a shit show, and I don't know if there's any way to stop it from being a shit show, honestly.
And they do not mention how much material we left behind. And equipment, money. They don't mention any of that.
Resources, natural resources for China.
But they do have a picture of Taliban driving a Humvee.
Does USA Today?
Wall Street Journal.
That's kind of a conservative thing, or no?
I don't know. I'm thinking Wall Street would be more conservative than liberal because they probably don't want to be taxed, but who knows who owns them. Like Forbes is pretty conservative, in my opinion.
You're probably okay with being taxed if you know exactly where the taxes are and have enough resources to delicately step around them. You know what I mean?
I
You're
can
probably okay
check.
with taxes. You know what I mean? We're okay
Yeah,
with
the
some taxes as long as they're for like speed bumps for dummies. But if we're taking a helicopter, who cares how many speed bumps there are?
Men of Tupperware is talking about the picture of the Taliban and the bumper cars. With the M4s. Yeah, that and like the towing the helicopters because they couldn't fly the helicopters. But,
Well, Wikipedia says they are conservative. So typically American conservative in their position. So they do have a bias.
By saying his company based out of California.
Yeah. For September, I had the FDA approves boosters, which if the way COVID is now, it's basically the seasonal flu, and I think should be treated that way. If you want to get, like you get some people, I don't get flu shots. Some people get flu shots. If you want to get a flu shot, get a flu shot. You want to get the COVID booster, get the COVID booster. I'm not against the vaccine or any of that. If you want to get it, get it. I got it. I'm not going to do boosters. I don't do flu shots. That's my choice. I think that's everybody's choice to decide for themselves if they want to do it or don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's the mandates that I have the huge issue with. But personal choice, I'm all for that.
I'm okay with mandates as long as we start mandating brushing your teeth because that's important. Maybe eating a healthy breakfast. I think that's important. Having the cholesterol within a range is important. You shouldn't be able to eat pizza or French fries if your cholesterol is high, right?
Outlaw
For
9mm as a
people.
carry gun.
Like if you're an old fat person eating a French fry in front of a child, you're endangering that child. Your actions are causing that child to think it's appropriate for big fat old people to eat fries. So I just want all mandates, equal mandates for everything. Driving too fast, mandate.
October, the Rittenhouse trial.
That was big.
Or was that November? I think that's November. Sorry. October is the 2,400 flights canceled.
Freedom flu.
Southwest. Yes. Where they said it was the weather.
And they didn't have air traffic controllers.
Yeah. Blaming
total
everything
bullshit.
Except for the employees walking out because they didn't want the vaccine mandate that the company had implemented.
Yeah, supposedly a bunch of the pilots took their built up sick leave all at once. Pretty smart. It worked too.
Do you think that that's going to be reported anywhere? It's like the workers stand up to the corporation and impose their will on this on the state or on this.
I don't because those who would tout that are ones that are also supporting the vax mandates.
Right, like the goal of it is not in line with their thing, but the method is in line with their thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, workers' rights versus the right of a company to mandate something.
So November, the Rittenhouse trial. This was also something that really should have been a local story, except for it reinforces the right to self-defense. It
Barely.
was a political trial. I think I would have been okay with, a gun charge just because of his age and the situation, but not, the murder trial.
Yeah, didn't they wasn't it meditated murder too?
They
They're going
threw
to give
everything.
him life in prison.
They tried to get him with an SBR, but it wasn't an SBR.
Yeah. That was I felt bad for the kid. I know he's an adult now, but man, it was hard to watch when he was getting the verdict read to him. His knees gave out. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
Glad he's free.
I watched a little bit of the trial just to kind of get a sense of what was going on, but I didn't really watch the trial.
It was hard to keep up. I'd watch it after work. I'd put it on double speed and then skip the intermissions. I got a good chunk of it, but couldn't watch everything.
That's an interesting way to do it, though, because I watched I think 2 days and right in the middle. So I think I don't remember. So it's just 2 full days though, watching the coverage and I think it was in Crump's live one. So watching the discussion with a bunch of people that would watch Crump, right?
Yeah.
But nobody else was streaming it really. I didn't want to watch it in Jared's. So there's really no point, right? Jared's feed is about useless. It's too many people and they're all just, I don't know if that's echo chamber or rah, 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 whatever it is. It's no discussion. It's just whatever. Same with Crump's really. But, seeing it with a bunch of people online is what I value over just watching it on a TV. Because even if, ideally there would be some mixed forum where people could civilly have a conversation and debate, talk about both sides, but I didn't see that happen anywhere. It could, though. We have the potential on the internet for somebody to foster that. And that's what I was going to say is that's I watched it for 2 days just to see what it was like, because it is just a factor of the way our government works, and it's good or bad, right? But the problem is it bothers me so much how people exploit it and then, just use it this summarizes our point of view or this summarizes our opinion, so let's just leave it. And it's not like it was a perfect case. It was like you said, it could easily have just been a nothing case that nobody paid attention to, but it needed to be the distraction. It needed to be politicized from the beginning. So it's not like it just came out of nowhere, but they had to follow through, and they followed through because there was no other news going on or very little other news going on or stuff that they needed to distract from. I'll still bring it back. My position would be to bring it back to, the fact that they didn't get either one of those comment periods to result the way they wanted, either for us to ignore it or for the other side to have overwhelming interest. And then neither one of those things happened. And at the same time, they were basically forced to not nominate their person who they insisted on nominating unusually long time, 4 months or longer, right? So those were just, that whole trial thing was a distraction from that. And from, we went right past the September. There was the 20th anniversary of all the, 9/11 and all the consequences of 9/11, Homeland, what do they call it? The Homeland Security garbage and all the Patriot Act. A real news, the fifth state would have scrutinized that after 20 years, been questioning why we need to be doing this or what was the effect of that, right? They didn't even pay much attention to that kind of stuff because of these other things that are, I'm going to keep saying, used as a distraction. They're necessary and important, but you could have a legal team report on it and give us a summary rather than, just turn it into a weird echo chamber. I don't know what the right word is for that. Just it's almost like a sporting event.
Reminded me of the OJ trial.
Yeah, right. Very much so.
The other side of a coin.
Except that the OJ trial had no consequence to firearms rights or firearms owners' property rights or anything. This, in some way, all of a sudden became a reason to whether or not you could. They tried desperately to make it whether you could have a rifle, whether you could give it to a kid, whether you could carry it, whether you could be holding it. All these things that they're like, can we come up with any possible angle to cause division, basically, right? You know,
They even tried to get him on playing video games, Call of Duty. Like, do you kill people in these video games with an AR-15? Like, they just asked him that? The hell? They violated his right to not incriminate himself at his Fifth Amendment right. This trial was insane. That's why it was a big story. It never should have went to trial.
Now, somebody Tupperware is out there saying he watched all of it on that law company, that law guy's channel, where he had all the different lawyers on there.
Law.
So that made that place an entity, which I think is a super double-edged sword. It's interesting because I did watch, not those 2 days I talked about. After the fact, nobody would shut up about that law channel, so I watched it for a while. But I don't like sports. Watching the trial was like watching sports to me. Watching those lawyers was like watching those people that sit around talking about sports. So it's like,
sports
you're
center.
super. Yeah, I don't even know, but yeah, like those people are super enthusiastic about something I loathe. So like, I don't have any interest in listening to it. So listening to those lawyers like just really get into the whole thing was like, it was just weird to me. I did not enjoy it at all. But for the people that are interested in that stuff, that had to be like a weird version of going to like law school in like fast forward, right? Like the way that having all of those lawyers talk about stuff at their lawyer level in front of everybody, there's going to have to be a consequence from that. It's so much better than like watching CSI with their fake drama version, or, you know, like I'm trying to think of Matlock, or just some fake TV show that's supposed to be law. This is actual law with actual lawyers having a real discussion, and half the time they were drunk, right? So I'm sure the filters were off and they're just really talking. So again, tens of thousands of people watching them live, like that has to change the conversations going forward, no? And now they're like a thing. Like now people go watch other trials there, and there's people that are just at a whole nother level, I would think, after that experience. Maybe I'm being
they're doing
optimistic.
the Kim Potter trial. The cop that shot somebody thinking it was a taser.
Taser, bang. Yeah.
They're covering that now.
So that seems like a much more interesting thing than, well, I shouldn't say that. They're all necessary, I suppose. They all have a different value, or some, I don't know how to, scales of justice are blind, right? There's none of them have more value than the other.
Yeah, I haven't made up my mind on where I sit on that one, because I can see if the situation called for, she could shoot the guy, you know, with her gun, but was trying to use a taser instead, then she should be cleared, because she had the right to shoot him in the first place and was trying not to shoot him and made a mistake. Then I could see, you know, discipline on the department disciplining her, but I don't see
like
it
you're
as
not guilty of murder necessarily, but you're fired for being incompetent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And she quit 2 days after that happened. That's an interesting case. But when I'm in doubt about something, I always side with the defendant. So I'm going to say she's innocent, but I'm not on the jury. One cool thing about this country is you get tried by supposedly a jury of your peers. Of course, they get filtered by the lawyers. But I don't know. I always hope they come to the right conclusion.
I was going to touch on men of Tupperware. Mention when Binger, the DA, was he DA?
Mm-hmm. Or one of them, right?
Yeah.
Maybe assistant.
Pointing the rifle at the jury, which was complete. You know, everybody made fun of him in the gun community. Made fun of him for violating one of the safety tenets. But it was complete theater meant to shock the jury, you know, to scare them into an opinion. He knew what he was doing, and he did it for a reason.
Wow, 28 years. I assumed she was new. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, I didn't know that.
assistant district attorney for Kenosha County.
Yeah, the female cop that shot the guy because she went into the wrong apartment, thinking it was hers. Yeah,
It sounds like murder.
yeah, I would say manslaughter, because I think of murder as more premeditated. And
I've
each
seen way too many Quincy's and Matlocks to not realize that she went into her neighbor, the dude's house, and accidentally, quote unquote. There's
I
more
think
to
she
it.
got out on the wrong level of the building, right?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
she was
snap.
actually and
had the same
doing one of
layout.
her partners and got out on the wrong floor, went into the wrong apartment, and shot the guy, thinking he was in her apartment.
I could be wrong, but I think the door was open.
I think so.
Holy moly.
So she thought her apartment was being burglarized. So she shot the guy.
Holy crap.
Yeah, but
That's
it's just
negligent.
I'm not positive on all that info. It's just what I've heard. But I always give them the benefit of the doubt. So
And December, I just had the 40-year high inflation, the highest in 40 years, what everybody is calling the Bidenflation. There's still 2 weeks left in the year, so you never know what's going to happen. But out of the stories I was looking at, there's heavy spin trying to not justify the inflation, but explain it away. There's stories where on how the inflation is actually good for you, stuff like that.
yeah, I'm making double what I was, 12 years ago. But I wonder what that is with inflation. I doubt it's very much more.
Well, that's like, if you make if you get 3% raise, but inflation is 6%,
Yeah, you're
still
screwed.
behind.
Yeah. But
That's
another thing, we had the 80th anniversary of the Pearl Harbor attack this December.
That's interesting. 80th and then 20th for the other one. I guess there's only going to be the one, or only occasionally when those will coincide with an even number like that.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never been to the memorial. I've flown over it, flying into Hawaii, but I think saw it that way, but I've never actually gone to it. Those were the ones I picked out. If you guys think there were other things that are worth mentioning, we can talk about those.
Let me see. My first
Or
pick was Flaming Dumpster for January.
That goes
January
for anybody
was
out
super
in
stressful.
anyone in the side chat. If there's anything you guys think, go ahead and put it out there.
One thing we kind of touched on, but not really. We did talk about the Capitol riot. We didn't talk about them putting the National Guard in D.C. for months.
Yes.
Yeah, the reaction, quote unquote,
That was
to that. The what do you call that? The
response.
Well, I guess, but I was going to say like the fortification of the entire DC, again, based on dozens of individuals that weren't armed. Like that overreaction in what does that cost? Just the cost alone, let alone what does it cost in the perception to the world and to the children? It's reckless. And if you had someone that called the police when a butterfly flew in the room, right? You'd say, hey, that's overreacting. Is that I
They
think
did it
that
here in
they're
Washington, our state
responsible.
capital. Put
Yep.
up fencing and locked everybody out.
Yeah, they should pay the bill for that with their out of their salaries and their back pay or whatever. Like
They
pay for
also
that.
they also outlawed us open carrying.
At rallies,
Yeah.
you can
So
still conceal carry, but you can't open carry.
yeah. Seems like they're getting a bit scared. I'm not
Yeah,
sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, it's a good thing if people get behind keeping them that way. It's a bad thing if everybody backs down, because then they'll keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Like when we talk about this, this story was a distraction, that story was a distraction. I don't really see them as distractions. I see it all as, they throw all this stuff at us, and it might distract us from some other story, but it's something that they want to do. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter, because they're trying here, trying there, trying there. And I don't think they are really done to specifically distract us from something else. They're trying to push everything they can push.
You're right. I consider them distractions, but yeah, they're just
Well, I understand.
way of doing business or whatever. They're just the nature of things.
And to clarify, when I say they, I'm talking about them. So just so everybody understands.
And then, they doesn't have to be, well, at least for me, the day doesn't have to be like an organized group that's actually in coordination with each other or something, or working together. It's just, anybody that's not on the same path as our side, who's, trying to basically do our own thing. Anybody that's in the way of that, doesn't matter if they're working together, right? Like if they're coming at it from 6 different angles, they'll start coming at us. So I think I just collectively call them all they.
Yeah, and the current boogeyman is the ghost guns, the homemade stuff. We've got different cities trying to implement their own bans, and on a federal level, they're talking about trying to get bans done. The redefinition of what a firearm is would cover that too. It will not make a difference. If I don't understand how it's supposed to make a difference, knowing the serial number. How many crimes? I don't know. Honestly, don't know how many crimes are solved by them looking at the serial number on a gun.
Well, here's my perception of that, because I think that's a super important point that we leave on the table. It's money left on the table, or whatever they say. Because if it was any significant number, the other side, who desperately needs to double down on that, would be using it as an indication they should be doubling down on it. The fact that they ignore it completely, it's a complete void. They've never used it as a strategy. Like you were talking earlier, they pulled out their deck of strategies and they were just like throwing them down on the what's his face case. When they do that, whenever they have to bring out all they can, whenever they got an open season, never bring that up. They never use that as justification ever. So I just think that we on our side haven't yet figured that out and done anything to use that to our advantage. I think challenging the 4473s, the concept of serial numbers, those elements of the 68 Gun Control Act are awesome, because they're going to challenge us with 80%. In the comment period, the thing even said, I read it so many times, the comment, one of the boilerplates from GOA, the response was that the anti-group that Bloomberg pays for and the state of California petitioned the ATF to look into the issue of 80%ers. And they looked into it. The ATF looked into it. They did it. They spent our tax money to investigate that. And the response to the Bloomberg group in state of California was, there's been there's been 8 out of the 4 million crimes or something that have been done with these kind of guns that you're worried about. And there's nothing that tells us in those crimes that it would have been any different with any other kind of gun. It's just circumstances. And we all know that those crimes include guns where the serial numbers are scratched off. So they don't even mean 80%ers. So if this is the perfect time, that's why I say these are distractions, because we could have been using this time to just go, okay, yeah, court cases that you desperately need us to spend our time focused on. But instead, let's just figure out a way to work together and get rid of the NFA. Or let's get rid of the 68. Let's get rid of all of these things. Let's encourage well, I don't want to get into my soapbox, but yeah, I think that's a great point. Just why do they have these serial numbers, or what's so good about them? What are they doing for us? And think of the cost. The good part about serial numbers is if there's a defect in the manufactured part or a flaw in some kind of a material, that they can be easily isolated and those people can be notified or something, right? Like they're good for inventory purposes.
But yeah, that's fine. But the government doesn't need that information. I had put out a poll: will 2022 be a better year? 67% said yes. 33% said no. I think one thing we didn't talk about was the constitutional carry states that. What was their?
Thank you. 5 states.
Yeah.
This year.
And Ohio is on the cusp of getting that, being number 22, I believe. It's one. There's 2 different bills that were passed, one in their state Senate, one in their state House. So that might take a little longer to get those to jive because they were 2 different bills. But the fact that each house passed one is a good sign. Don't know what their governor will do, but it sounded like they had a majority, so they could overrule the veto. So you, why don't you go ahead and mention what you put in the side chat here, G-Webs?
Oh, I was just looking over because I knew we got a bunch of concealed carry or constitutional carry, so that's just a mess. But it's saying that in February, Utah and Montana, constitutional carry, and then in July, Iowa, Tennessee, and Texas, constitutional carry. I think they all got voted in at different times, but that's when they became effective. So 5 states, and like you say, almost 2 more. Louisiana was pretty close. Ohio was pretty close, or is pretty close. Pennsylvania even had one, didn't it?
Yeah, they got vetoed.
And that would be, if those all went through, we'd be at 25. So we're at 22, knocking on the door at 25.
And that's, that kind of brings up something that, I've talked about before, where we're getting to where there's 2 states of the 2A. You've got this group of states which are anti-gun, have all these unconstitutional laws that are being fought, and then this other set of states which are constitutional carry, and those don't jive and need to be addressed by the Supreme Court. That is their purpose in this, in this country, is to make sure everybody is governed by the same law. And right now that's not happening.
Yeah, it's how long has California have that mag ban?
Yeah, mag ban, the roster, the concealed carry scheme.
And the 9th just ruled on it, so the only hope is Supreme Court.
Yeah, there's a channel which I know you know about, the Washington State gun law.
Yeah,
they cover gun laws in the Washington State, and they just put out a video talking about the Second Amendment. And now I'm forgetting the details exactly, but where he said it will not be solved in the courts. He's a lawyer and he defends people on gun cases. It said it will not be one in the courts. It needs to be education done by gun owners, educating non-gun owners.
I'm putting his channel link in the chat.
Which I agree that we should be reaching out and educating, but right now I don't see that working enough, because look at how many people just in the gun community that support red flag laws, support mag bans, support you name it. I believe in the Second Amendment, but, and then fill in the infringement. So I don't know if there'll ever be a true Second Amendment following, because
Yeah,
there definitely will be. All those things you said are correct, but they're the past and they're changing. When you've got 300 ladies, 400 ladies, 500 ladies and Girl and a Gun, you've got Rick Ector doing 4,000 ladies in a weekend last year, 1,000 ladies the year before that. You've got DC Project reaching out to the state level now, so bringing in even more representatives, sending them in October to Florida, and then all those ladies going back home and doing their dispensing that information to the state level advocates. Those ladies go home and talk to their husbands and their brothers and their daughters and everybody else, their friends. And then those people all go to the gun shops. I agree with you that that's the way it's been, but you're now is literally preaching the choir. Those are the easiest people to get through to. And instead of some of us who are zealots on the corner of the gun show saying, hey, you should care about your rights, now they got their wife and their daughter and their friends at work saying, oh no, you should care about your rights. I think it can change quickly.
I agree with you. I see that, and there is more support for the Second Amendment now, than there has been. So I'm hopeful, but yeah, I'm personally not sure. And I'm not saying we should, fold up shop and quit, but
oh no,
I want it.
I completely agree with you. The two states are 2A. If you're on the left coast right now, you're really feeling it. Or New York, or we really need the Supreme Court to step up.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be a downer or depress everybody, because I want to see better things happen. I'm hoping to see better things happen, and
they will. They definitely will.
Yeah, believe it or not.
Back in the day, you had to live through that alone, and the only people that were coordinated were the people getting paid by Bloomberg. Now none of that's happening, and none of that's happening in shadows or darkness. It's all happening in front of everybody, and we're all getting pissed with you. Once we figure out that everybody who has family, who does business, and who travels or vacations or purchases items from a state, we have influence in those states. And once we figure out that instead of playing tetherball or ping pong with the other side and waiting for them to send a volley and then reacting, but instead we get some national level leadership, some focus and some direction, we start taking out states one by one. And as soon as they figure out that we're coordinated in doing that, it's much easier for people to feel a sense of relief and anticipation for when it happens with their state. And then they're going to get antsy, and it's going to happen as a flood, because people are going to figure out it doesn't need to be deemed. Your state doesn't need to be deemed ready. It just needs to do it. And then we have 27, 28 states that are solidly in support of our rights. And we've got all the extra resources just sitting here being sucked in by organizations that are hiding in the shadows. Those shadows are disappearing, right? And when the people figure out, look at what they did to the NRA. You think they're going to appreciate that when they figure out that these other organizations are potentially doing similar situations? They're going to look for ways to help. And we're democratizing, we're decentralizing, I guess is a better way to say it. That's the trend. So I guess I'm a little bit into that because I've just been researching some NFT stuff. But that decentralization concept is core to the education of the next generation. So they're looking for ways to remove the tradition and the infrastructures of the past. And once they set their goals on those states where they're sitting, like they're in those states, we got some real challenge. But like I say, we don't want to. It's not a for certain, but I see a lot of potential. I'm very optimistic. I think our biggest danger is not doing that together, because they also, as good as they are, as much optimism as I have, they're also warped, and they have a really weird sense of the past because of how they've been taught. And if we have a disconnect and we allow them to think that we set them up, not we, because they think we are our parents because they don't understand the past, but if they think that the past generation set them up to fail and they don't work with their fellow gun owners and they just act independently, that could be dangerous. That could be detrimental to harmony or cohesion or whatever, but it's still overall a win because they will be fighting for individual freedom and everyone will prosper in that, or get the reap that benefit. The states that are under tyranny, that'll be removed, but it won't foster a great environment. I'd like to see it instead done with collaboration amongst everybody. That's the part that I think I'm optimistic, but I don't really think that we're going to see that unless something happens that's not on the playing field today. But I think it's almost inevitable that we'll see the removal of restrictions, infringements on the states that have been until now feeling alone.
I can say I've caught myself before where, I guess I fit more in the older generation where, like Liberty Doll, when she first kind of everybody started noticing her, I checked out her Instagram, and she's on YouTube too, right? Is she on YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
But,
definitely. Once a week.
I watched some of her videos and I thought, I don't, it's not for me. And then I realized, no, it's not for me. She's not talking to me. Doesn't need to be talking to me. She's talking to a different audience, the audience she needs to be talking to. And so, I realized I was kind of poo-pooing it because it didn't speak to me. Well, it wasn't meant to speak to me. It didn't need to speak to me. She was speaking to the audience that she should be speaking to. So I've, tried to be more careful where I'm, listening to somebody younger and I don't want to listen to this young person, and then realize, well, no, I should support them because they're talking to people they should be talking to. If that makes sense.
No,
Yeah,
very
Old
much.
guy rant.
I'm cautiously optimistic nationally. As long as they don't pull some shenanigans where they pack the Supreme Court, we should be good. I just don't know how long it's going to take.
Oh, that's while there's a little break, we'll do this one. We'll do a commercial for our sponsor.
今コニカカラーを買って100年プリントにするとフォトスタンドかドラえもんアルバムかマグカップが漏れなくもらえます。この上りのお店でどうぞ。
Yeah, Konica copiers and stuff.
I thought that was a candy bar.
It's a commercial for copiers. If you buy, I forget if it was like the stand for the copier, then you could get the t-shirt or the mug that they show.
I just thought of one story we didn't cover. What do you think about these private companies doing space flights?
Yeah, I don't care.
Oh, I think that's super awesome. And what's his face's satellite distribution to provide internet everywhere?
Yeah,
It's going to
Elon.
be a game changer. And then
Yeah,
that guy, he's the new Trump.
Starlink?
I don't know if you pay attention to his tweets. I don't know why, maybe because of the logarithm or something, but I keep seeing that guy's tweets. Maybe I have to go in there and tell it to quit showing me them before it'll quit showing me them. Anyway, this one that I do remember said something to the effect of, it was Musk replying to somebody who said something, and then he said, his reply was something like, I'm going to pay more money in taxes than anybody that's ever paid taxes in the United States this year, or something like
I
that.
think that
Don't
was
spend it
Warren.
all at one place. And then they go, we already did. Yeah, that's what it was, saying it to Warren.
Yeah.
So I just think that's neat that they're choosing to spend that kind of wealth on investment in, I consider, technology infrastructure. I mean, those rockets coming down, it's like a freaking cartoon or something, the way they come back down and kind of go into reverse motion, and they land vertically and all that on a boat that's remote controlled. It's freaking, it's amazing. And and it's just that kind of stuff is happening and people aren't even paying attention. That's just
Yeah,
super neat to see technology do something so amazing. It's just neat. And it's not violent or mean or angry, or just doing something for exploration, right?
I was talking to Rogue Banshee about that, the Starlink. He's got the Starlink, and he loves it.
Well, everybody
And,
loves it. Yeah.
He's got a buddy that also has it that lives out in the middle of nowhere, and I guess it works great for him. You know, there's no cell service, nothing like that, and it works great. I don't know. There's some stuff which seems kind of sketchy that who were we just talking about?
Elon?
Elon Musk with his companies, where he's kind of robbing
Like
Paul
the
to
boring-
pay Peter.
The Boring Company?
Yeah,
Stuff like that?
but there's a lot of stuff that is good. So I don't know. I'm not sure about him. I'm not saying he's an evil genius trying to overtake the world, but
I saw a funny meme where they said who Elon thinks he is, and it showed a picture of Nikola Tesla. And then it says who Elon really is, and it showed Thomas Edison.
yeah, I saw that one.
I'd still rather have either one of them two, for all their faults and strengths, than like the rich people who are become politicians, or, you know what I mean? Like, do the weird, greedy Scrooge type of stuff. Well, not Scrooge is funny, but like the mean stuff that you never see.
I'm just cautiously worried about someone that powerful. I guess that's a good way to put it. I don't know.
Well, I have no problem with that. I'm just glad to see that innovation is happening and stuff. I wouldn't
me
care
too.
if it was, Xerox doing it or somebody else. I'm just glad. Oh, and I'm also glad that it isn't stupid NASA doing it. That it isn't, the government had to be the only one that could do blah, blah, blah. One, technology is available to everybody, and two, I like the competition and the competition, right? Like what that's going to create.
Yeah, when I said I don't care, it's not that, it's more, I'm fine with it. They want to do it, whatever.
Yeah, we've already been to space before. It's just the first time it's private. Shatner getting shot to space was pretty funny. I thought they were going to kill the guy. He's like 95 years old.
Well, there wasn't private space enterprises because NASA controls space. You don't go if they don't say you can go.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonder what they would do. Like, you launch yourself into space, what are they going to do? Go up there and arrest you?
There's
Like
a
the
movie
old
called
movie-
Salvage One.
Yeah, I was just bringing that up. He makes his own rocket in the junkyard.
I think he just does it, right? They're like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm going to the moon. Like, wait, what? He just does it.
No, that's about all I had. Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about? Well, I've got you here.
For the year, I had my list or whatever that I've been trying to work on, but obviously mine's more 2A focused and what other people had brought up in their things that I was like referencing or whatever. But we had one rally, at least in Arizona. We mentioned the 5 states that got CCW or whatever. Constitutional carry. But there was 5 states actually. Turns out there was also Alabama and Tennessee that had constitutional carry go all the way up to the governor. So it was quite a few states that we might anticipate, 5 states we might anticipate seeing constitutional carry. There was a few events. Like I say, I won't talk about all of them, but are in our Second Amendment realm specifically, not just gun owners. Right now, it seems like the new trend is for anybody who's a new gun owner to call themselves 2A. It's just cool or trendy or something, so it's changing or it's developing its meaning. But when I say 2A, I'm talking like people that are focused on Second Amendment. Quite a few of them that had get up training and skill building, either focused specifically on Second Amendment advocacy, or if it was some kind of other training, they included Second Amendment advocacy specifically. And, like I was saying before, I think that the repercussions of that are going to be really cool, since that's, as far as I'm aware, only like for some of these organizations that have been doing it for like 4 or 5 years, it's like, 4 or 5 years in. But for some of these, it's like the first or second year they've even been doing this. So we just haven't had a chance to see the consequences of that kind of focus. Back in the day, it was like, I'm going to go get trained in firearms, and you went to take an NRA class that was very, very consistent, very uniform. So everybody took the same class, out of design. So there was no wavering from it. Now that there's no rules, and that people don't have any regard or less regard than ever for the NRA's certifications, and they start looking for alternatives. The alternatives focus on Second Amendment, either advocacy or awareness, but, it's definitely in their curriculum. So that's, and then now that there's more and more people coming to the realm, that means there's that many more people that are either stepping up or coming straight into being instructors and educators, and they're using curriculums that include advocacy. Our USA team won gold in August. Nobody ever talks about that kind of stuff.
That's pretty cool to see.
The Gun Rights Policy Conference was virtual again, but at least it happened. The AMCON, the portion of it that's for the Second Amendment advocates, media up training and education, that happened in real life. The CCA, US CCA, still had their meeting in real life, even though NRA canceled theirs. And I think that's the biggest ones out of my list. Although if anybody knows, who's watching this, knows of any lists out there, because I know some bloggers will do yearly wrap-ups that I really appreciate, that they'll look at the good news and the positive stuff that gets overlooked. If anybody knows of those kind of lists, please let me know, and I'll include some of those items into my list, because I'm trying to do that, show both sides of how the year went. But thanks for the time. I really appreciate the focus on
it. Anything from you, Baron?
Yeah, you touched on the Olympics. How we won gold in
I think
the
5 of
shooting
them.
sports.
Yeah.
That was so weird, watching the Olympics with no crowd.
Yeah. Seriously, can you imagine, the people that spend so much time, devote so much time, and then they have some expectation based on the way that goes to have to do it? I guess it must have been better for shooting.
And they're making the athletes wear masks, even though they've been tested, and there's no crowd.
They're ultimately healthy.
Yeah.
They seem to really dig it, though. Like, I don't see, at least maybe it's a common front or something thing that I'm not aware of, because I'm really not that into it. I just see the stuff from it as a spectator, but, I didn't see much resistance or complaints about it. So I'm guessing they are okay with it. I mean, they are traveling internationally. It's
It was funny though. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
they'd walk up to the same spot, take their mask off, do their thing, put their mask back on. Somebody else would come up to the same spot they were at, take their mask off, breathe the same air, and they were just taking turns. I don't get it.
Well, speaking of that, the thing in Texas, when we were watching the Texas thing, they were doing that, like having that person, like the person come up and wipe the mic.
Yeah. You're going to wipe the air? Yeah.
I put a link to your channel out there to check out Gun Website's channel.
Thanks, appreciate it.
And for 2A stickers, patches, and etc. Check out gearwebsites.com. Oh, there it is. He made me that.
That's pretty awesome.
I painted it just because with the white on white, it was kind of hard to see any details. So painted a little bit just so you can tell. Are you eventually going to start selling some 3D printed stuff, or you just?
I just need to know what to do. Like that thing there, the model of the mouse is copyrighted by the mouse place, I'm sure. But the person who made the 3D render or whatever, the 3D model, had it up on a file share system as you can use this, but don't modify it and don't sell it. And so I used it and I modified it, but I didn't sell it. I just modified it by putting a gun in its hand, and then I was standing on the G, the gun channel's G, so that he would stand up. So technically, I'm bending their preference, but I'm just giving it to Foss. So, and then maybe I gave a couple to a couple other people, maybe perhaps, but you know what I mean. I'm not selling them and I'm not offering them for sale, but. Now that was because I didn't know how to do nothing. I was learning, right? I was learning how to take the existing 3D files and smush them together. So now I'm learning how to start with a bunch of cylinders and spheres and smush them and use them like digital clay, and I'll make one. And then once we make them, then it's a whole nother story. So if there was something I could make that I had rights to, then yeah, I'd start selling it. I have one thing that I've worked on so far is my first like effort, and that's the bullet. Well, actually, the heat-seeking missile from the movie Runaway with Magnum PI and some other people back in '84. And there's this bullet that can travel around and follow the heat signature of a human and get them. So there's a scene in the movie where they cut that in half with air and look at it, and no one had made a 3D file of that. So I made a 3D file of that and have those on the site, like the prototypes and that. But that's the only thing that I've made that I think is anywhere near interesting. And I guess I have some gun channels G's, like what you're standing on. I have a couple of those. But if people have ideas for something to make, then I'll definitely consider it, because the machines are just sitting there and they're willing to print. I just got some new material, actually. I was thinking about going live after this. Erstwhile sent me some new thread for it, and he asked what color, and I gave him like a list of colors that I could use, and I don't know which color he sent me, so I was thinking about going live and just seeing what color it was and then getting ideas and making something. Anyway, eventually I'll sell my 3D stuff.
I need to fire mine up, make some snap caps.
Oh, you got one? What kind do you got?
I don't even know.
Then I'll send Foss the.
I got it from.
And then you can print stuff, the file for him.
I got it from Monoprice. Forgot the name though.
Is it the kind where you just it all works? You don't have to add nothing to it or fiddle with it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
Yeah, send me the files.
Yeah, I will. And then that's what I was meaning to do with Gizzard and stuff too, because I'm not trying to hork them or nothing. And that way, if you guys have ways to print them, you can print them off in whatever colors or materials you want. Because that's the thing. I only can print in the one material now. I need to get some new materials or ability to print in like a more durable part, a more durable material.
So, Baron, all the stuff that we keep saying that we need to do at the beginning of the show, that we forget to do at the beginning of the show. Forgot to do at the beginning of the show.
We need
But,
that pre-flight checklist.
I forget to make the list is a problem.
I'll work on it.
But I think next week we'll do a giveaway for our 1 year. I won't call it an extravaganza, but we'll do some sort of giveaway, give away some stuff. And then I still need to do a 1,000 sub giveaway, which I kind of keep putting off.
You're giving away 1,000 subs? I'll take them.
Yep. 1,000 ham and cheese subs. You supply the ham and cheese and the bread, and I'll make the subs. But so those will be coming up sometime. So, but definitely next chat we'll do a giveaway for 1 year anniversary, and then hopefully I get on the ball here and then do 1,000 sub giveaway to thank everybody who has subscribed, because I really appreciate it.
Yeah, big growth in the last year.
And it makes it fun, everybody that comes to the live chats or leaves comments, good or bad, I appreciate constructive criticism. So
I expect it.
If so leave a comment on the videos. If you're watching this, leave a comment. If there's a story you think we missed, or we're wrong about an opinion, go ahead and leave a comment. We can kind of keep the conversation going, as G Webs likes to say. But appreciate everybody coming and hanging out at this god awful hour with us. And I still don't have a tagline, and
I got one for you. If you want to talk to us at a more reasonable hour, we do have a Discord server that you can join for free and chat to us.
Yes, there's a link. I put a link in the description, and you dropped a link in the chat.
I did.
Um,
And we promise not to ban you unless you really fuck up.
You can come hang out, talk about this, talk about that, but so I hope everybody has an awesome day.
You still here? It's over. Go home.